Welcome to Spiritual Cartel's Big Book Main Share. This week, I am pleased to introduce you to Young, who has kindly agreed to come and share for us. Thank you, Young. Happy birthday, and it's over to you.
Thank you. Fantastic job. Thank you for the whole service team. Hi, my name's Young. I'm a very grateful recovered addict. My sobriety date is Christmas Eve 2018. So that's today, and I'm beyond grateful to be sat here with my people. What went through my mind when I was sat here trying to just be rather than think was when we give a moment's silence to think about the still suffering. And this time 7 years ago, I was the still suffering. And I'd been the still suffering for probably, I would say, at least a decade, maybe more than that. And welcome to any newcomers. I had no idea what was going to happen to me as I embarked on this seeking for this power that you guys talked about. I didn't even know how it was going to unfold in my life. All I knew when I reached the rooms of Cocaine Anonymous is that I am so tired, I am so broken, and I know I'm going to use again. I know it's only a matter of time before my mind takes me back to what it always takes me back to. And I was having a conversation with someone earlier on, and what I said to her is, I didn't come into the rooms of Cocaine Anonymous seeking God. Because I don't know what's good for me. Because my mind always takes me back to poison. And for so many years, I lived in the lower power of existence, where I used heroin, crack cocaine and alcohol over and over again. And what went through my mind earlier on was when my own father was dying and holding this man, and he had days to live. And the best I can do, the best I on my own power can do, is leave his bedside to go and score drugs and drink alcohol. And I had no idea what I was suffering from. So if there's anyone sat here today still suffering, I wish I could go around to you and touch you like that and show you your potential and show you what happens to those of us who embark on this mission of seeking. And when I contacted Purdy earlier and I said, is this a big book share? And he said, yeah, flow wherever you want. Maybe talk about what the big book has done for you. So I'll do that. Maybe. I'll try and stick to the format. What has the big book done for me? It's been it is a treasure map that has led me to God, to spirit, to power. It's removed the drug problem. It's opened my eyes. It's awoken my spirit. It's given me a sense of purpose, meaning and direction. Something miraculous has happened to me, who used to be a hopeless drug addict and alcoholic, and I'm not today. Something miraculous. But I have to start somewhere. So where I'm starting is this time 7 years ago. I leave a psychiatric unit. And in that psychiatric unit, something's just popped into my mind from Bill's story. No words can tell of the loneliness and despair I found in that bitter morass of self-pity. Quicksand stretched around me in all directions. I'd met my match. Alcohol was my master. Cocaine was my master. Heroin was my master. That's exactly how I felt in that last psychiatric unit doing that last detox. I knew I was a goner. I knew I'm going to die from this illness. Because I'd been knocking around the rooms for about 10 years. Never in the fellowship of the Spirit. Only going to meetings. No different than just going to the gym every day, watching everyone work out and saying, this doesn't work. I didn't understand what this deal was about. I didn't understand that it was about love and service. And I get to love through these 12 steps. Love, God, Spirit, power. But when I was in that psychiatric unit, and it's only this year that I've awoken to this fact. I abandoned myself to God, even though I didn't believe in God. I dropped to my knees in this bed. I was in this room that they used to check you every hour to make sure you hadn't committed suicide. like plastic sheets, wheels on the bed. And I dropped to my knees and I said, please help me. And I didn't know why I did it. I was broken enough to some light to come out. Something was happening. I didn't know because I never or seldom know the experience whilst I'm going through the experience. I had a call with one of my teachers today. And as I look back on these 7 years, I can see all these teachers were placed in my path. You know, the seekers seem to seek each other, just like magnets, not meaning to, just like magnets. And I speak about her a lot. She's a lady. She's about 75 years old. And I said to her today, I said, I don't think you realise what an effect you've had on me. I don't think you realised you were teaching me. Because you were just doing what you do in Alcoholics at Cocaine Anonymous. You were just doing what you do. Shining the light for broken souls like me. The more broken you are, come on in, man. I'm still a broken soul, but light shines out of me today. And I said to her, when I think to those early meetings that I was going to, what drew me towards you? Everyone said, stay away from that strange lady. She talks about God all the time. She goes on about this stupid big book all the time. Stay away. And even I remember when I said, would you like to go for a coffee, Sandra? I thought my mind was saying, why have you asked this crazy lady? What are you going to talk about to this lady? And then we'd go out walking and she'd tell me stories out of the Bible and these kind of spiritual people like DeMello and Rumi and all these other people that I'd never heard of. And I didn't understand what she was talking about. But at the end of the walk, I'd say, can we do the same thing next week? And what I said to her today, you were planting seeds in me. You were planting these seeds in me that started to sprout as I started to go through this process of transformation as I went through these steps. I had no idea. But in that last detox, in that psych unit, only looking back, I can see I'd surrendered. How do I know I'd surrendered or I'd been surrendered? I'd met my match. Alcohol was my master. Cocaine was my master. Heroin was my master. My mind was my master. Because I found out the main problem wasn't drugs or alcohol, because I'd detoxed many, many times and always gone back there against my will, against my control, against my power. The main problem centered in my mind. I didn't realise that the solution would not come from my mind. Only the problem would come through my mind. And it says in the big book, doesn't it? Remember, we're dealing with alcohol, cocaine. Cunning, baffling, powerful. And I'm dealing with my mind. Cunning, baffling, powerful. And I'm dealing with my agnosticism, which creates my fear. Cunning, baffling, powerful. The persistence of this illusion, astonishing. Time and time again. Smashed to the floor. Time and time again, this fear coming in, telling me I'm not good enough. No one likes you. No one's going to love you. Time and time again. I cannot see the truth from the false in those moments. And going way back, I always felt like a broken soul. I always felt different. I always felt I was missing something. And I was missing something. I was missing a connection to God, spirit, love. I was too connected to me. Selfish, self-centered, I discovered as I start going through the steps, is the root of my troubles. I'm the root of my troubles. And I thought it was you, and you. And so I made it out of that place. And I often tell this story of this lady, another angel. I was on my knees crying my eyes out in that psych unit. Because I thought I was going to die. I thought I can never be a father. I've abandoned my children. I've got no family left, no friends left. My whole possession were in one bag with holes in it. I didn't even have any socks. I've got no idea where my socks went. Who knows? Could have lost them in a crack house. But I didn't have any socks. But you know who brought me some socks? A kind lady from Cocaine Anonymous. And I remember moments like that in my early days and still today. Messages I've been receiving off people today that never underestimate the power of kindness. Even when I'm asleep, the kindness sort of starts softening my hard heart. Because it was hard possibly because of this. Because the way I was abandoned as a child and tortured and beat and all those things that didn't create the drug addict, but they created a fertile ground for drug addiction and alcoholism. They created someone that was terrified of being alone and rejection and being hurt. They created someone that was very angry and resentful and fearful. They created this fertile ground. So when I picked up my first drug and my first drink at 11 years old, oh man, I loved it. There's my higher power. There's my spiritual experience. Man, I feel right. And so I chased that to the gates of insanity and death. I was a mad dog out there. I'm so grateful to be sat here today. So grateful. It used to baffle me before I understood this illness. Why do I keep going back to it when I know what happens? And then when I start being guided through this big book, I start to understand my illness will always demand treating. Either in the madness or out of the madness. It's going to demand treating. What does it say in the big book? I can go on to the bitter ends, blotting out the consciousness of my intolerable situation. And for anyone new in, man, those words spin me out still today. It just means for me, I can just keep on trying to be okay, to stay sober, to be happy, to be content, trying to chase something, always needing to fill this spiritual void. And I can try and fill it with many things. It doesn't have to be drugs or alcohol. And I love the simplicity of this, I can accept spiritual help. Now, when did I accept spiritual help? When I'd been so smashed to pieces. When I knew alcohol and drugs was my master. When I could feel this quicksand around me, and everywhere I looked, every move I made was getting me deeper into the lower power of existence, where I think life is something just to be endured. I can't see the beauty and the perfection of life in all its imperfections. I just see darkness. I feel darkness. I exude darkness. My energy is dark. And so darkness comes back to me. And I think life's unfair. And I think I don't want to be here anymore. And I cannot believe I didn't take my own life at the end. I can't believe it. But I know today, all these experiences were the gifts. It was just preparing me for this new world, this new existence, this new light that's inside my heart. That was there from day one, but how I feel it today, it was extinguished along the way somewhere. It was extinguished. It was flickering. And so my experience of the Big Book and the 12 Steps. I met my first teacher and we went through these 12 steps. And something started to shift in me. And I can happily say I've never been the same since. And when I left that treatment centre, because I went in another treatment centre for 6 months, I always used to go in for 6 months, 8 months. I spent 7 Christmases in treatment centres, 4 as a client, some, whatever. I like it in there. Why? Because I like being around you lot. I like being around the broken. Why? Because I identify with being broken. I feel at home. I feel at one. You're my people. I found my place in the world. I found my sense of belonging, where before I always had a longing for something that I didn't know what I was longing for. Because when you open your mouth, I hear God. When I can see through your humanness. Because my mind seems to always oppose the will of God. It seems to want to argue and control and compete and separate me from you, but I am you and you are me. Donna, she's on here today. Shout out to Donna. 1 + 1 is 1. We are all part of the divine spirit. And me seeking God is like a fish in the ocean looking for the water. I can feel, I experienced that today. My spirit has woken up to the great reality that was always there and was trying to nudge me all along. Young, wake up. Have you had enough? But thank God for all those experiences and all that pain and all that hurt that's coming out the other side. Man, it's a new dawn. It's a new day. I was going to sing then, but I'm not Andy. And I'm going to read something from the book again. Quicksand. Alcohol was my master. So it was at that moment, I know. Let me pause. I don't know. But I can see and I can feel something coming from you. In my early days. Well, it's still my early days, man. I'm a baby at 7 years, man. I don't understand the words you're saying. Like when Sandra used to take me out for walks and talk about all these teachers and blah, blah, blah. I had no idea. It was like a foreign language. But I can feel the spirit. She wasn't just quoting books. She was exuding light. And light, man, I'm attracted to it. When I'm so broken, something draws me towards the light. I want to taste it. I want to feel it. Because alcohol's my master. Drugs are my master. And I don't want to be trapped in this prison anymore. And so thank God for this willingness that just come inside me and it's never left me for this seeking. I feel so grateful to be alive today. Trembling. This is like me. Wow. So I've just noticed that. I read this about 1 million times. Trembling, I stepped from the hospital a broken man. Man, when I left that last hospital, I was 7.5 stone. Now I know my US friends in here, that is just skinny. That's like someone who's been smoking crack for 2 years and not been eating any food and drinking vodka. Bones. Wasn't looking good. Fear. And I literally was trembling when I left that place. I was literally shaking when I entered that treatment centre. I was so weak. I was so distraught. And it says fear sobered me up for a bit. Now, for any of our new friends, fear can keep me sober for a bit. The love of my children can keep me sober for a bit. A new girlfriend, a new job, but only temporary. And temporary sobriety is no good to a mad dog like me, because once I put one in, I am off to the races. And then came the insidious insanity. That first drink, Armistice Day, 1934, I was off again. Everybody became resigned to the certainty I'd have to be shut up somewhere. Everyone thought I was a goner. Everyone had given up on me. And this bit I want to focus on. How dark it is before the dawn. How dark it is before the dawn. I lived in darkness. I tasted darkness. I was wrapped up in it, just so blinded to the truth of this power that was inside me and that was inside you. How dark it is. I can see that needed to happen in me. This absolute brokenness. So, what happened to me, man? I started going to Cocaine Anonymous and Alcoholics Anonymous. These fellowships where there was a certain crew of people who exuded something. They all talked about God or spirit or power or love. And when I frowned my face, they said, look, don't worry about the word, young. Let's have an experience. Let's walk hand in hand. And they guided me through this beautiful big book. And we'd go walking and we'd talk. And that triangle, I got into this. I started praying. I'd never prayed before. And when I look back, how do I know that I'd been surrendered? The fact I was praying when I didn't even understand what I was praying to, what I was praying for. I was just doing it. Started meditating. Even though I could probably sit for 30 seconds because my mind was just like crazy. I just come out of a psych ward. Just over and over and over. I stopped questioning you guys because the light was so strong in you. I come to believe. How can I not believe when I see it working in others? When I see the solution is not me. And all the guys that seem to be well, they all talk about this God or spirit or power or love. They all study this big book, but they all tell me things like this. A book is just words, young. This has to be a walk, an experience. And what's happened to me with this beautiful book, the words have started seeping into my soul, and I can sort of hear the dance and the melody within the words through these practices that I was introduced to, such as prayer and meditation and self-examination and all these things that have been working for all these people for all this time. And it's almost like the words have been traveling through time. I remember my first teacher. He said to me, as soon as you're through these steps, you need to go and pass this message on to others. And so that's what I did from that day to this day, and I've never stopped. Because I know today that I do my best learning. You're my best teachers. You teach me about me. You help reveal things to me that I cannot see. Or when I sit in meditation, intuitive thoughts, intuitive feelings, the transformation that has happened to me, I can't imagine. I didn't understand what was going to happen, but what was going to continue to happen. Because you said things like this to me. This is about a way of life, a spiritual way of life, of kindness and love and self-sacrifice and seeking. And looking back, I can see that I was always a seeker. I always wondered, what was from beyond and what happened before I was born and what happened when I was always a ponderer. But I was just looking in the wrong places for that sense of ease and comfort, for that something that would fill my soul. But the places that I looked took me to hell. And where it says on page 55, where are we going to find this power? Where have I found this power? Deep down within me. I was just very blocked. I was blocked by my anger, by my resentment, by my past, by my trauma. Blocked. And the unblocking that happens through these steps, I start feeling a lightness to my soul. I used to take life very seriously. What came to me in meditation a few months ago was, God, help me get deeper into life so I become less attached to it. I was so attached to material, living life, outside in. Oh my God, the news and this and this and this and this. I feel in a place of neutrality most of the time to external things. Because you've shown me this by your walk. During COVID, I was a few years in and the meeting shut down. And I tell this story often. My first thought was, how are we going to reach newcomers? And then, of course, this amazing Zoom thing sprung up, arose, because we are a spiritual entity. Nothing can stop us from helping others. And I thought, how am I going to look after my auntie? She's got dementia. Already something was pushing me along that wasn't coming from my mind. And anyone on here who's got any relative or loved one who's got dementia, you know that how challenging that can be. And she was like my mother. I was closer to her than my mother. And I never thought I'd have to, bathe her and do everything for her. And it was really challenging. But yet I remember one day looking out of the window and thinking, this is the happiest moment of my life. Like, how does that happen? And I can see that something shifted so much in me during that time of lockdown, because I was spending all my time helping someone else, taking people through the big book and prayer and meditation and going on these Zoom meetings and meeting new teachers. It was mind-blowing. All my friends around me were there losing their chisel. And I was just like, whoa. It was mind-blowing. And then when she died, my heart was broken. She was the only stable adult in my life. She took me in when I had nowhere else to go. She always showed me love. And so when she died, I've never felt pain like that. But I was finally being able to experience being human and to sit and to pray and to turn my attention to other people. I was able to sit with my feelings rather than sit in my feelings. And it was a new experience, because this is what's happened over these last 7 years. I'm having new experiences as a sober individual. You know, a new experience that I'm having right now is my 15-year-old daughter having a boyfriend. Oh, and I'll share this with you. So I was there last weekend, and I did knock on her door, and I'm not sure why she said, yeah, come in. She said, yeah, come in. And her boyfriend and her are lying in bed together. They've got their clothes on, but still, they're lying in bed together. I prayed. In that moment, I paused. I paused when agitated. And man, was I agitated. My old self, I would have dragged him out of there by his hair. Probably would have. God, please help me. I don't know what to do. And all I said was, you need to get out of there now. I said it quite sternly. But you know what? This kid bought me a Christmas present. Maybe he's trying to get on the good side. But my point in telling this story is, now I'm able to practice these principles in all my affairs. Imperfectly, making mistakes, reaching out to my teachers when I don't know what to do. I'm going through new experiences, responses. Donna, what to do, and getting guided. Knowing that I don't know, knowing that I'm a newcomer still. And then later that night, and I'll rewind selector a little bit. I knew Purdy would like that. When I was in that treatment centre, my daughter, who I remember the birth of all my children, I was using and drinking in the hospital of all of their births. But even still, that sounds terrible. I'm not trying to, I was in my illness. I remember looking at her in particular, just something touched my soul when I looked into her eyes. Something just amazing. And so we've always had this kind of real connection. But when I went into the last treatment centre, and I remember phoning up her mum, and I said, can I speak to her? And she said, do you not realise, Young, she hates your guts and she never wants to speak to you again. And it felt like someone had put a knife in my heart. And I remember going upstairs and I was on the bed sobbing, and I started going into that very famous city that I used to live in, self-pity, thinking, oh my God, poor me, I'm a rubbish dad. And suddenly, and this is an experience that I didn't know was an experience, something was like, this isn't about you, it's about her. What are you going to do different? And so what I did different, I launched myself into this spiritual program of action. And it took 2 years of me being clean and sober for her to even talk to me. I'd go down and see her brother and she would run into her room. She was that hurt. And I'd give no consideration of how much hurt and carnage I'd caused in her life, my son's life, their mum. Because I was like that tornado, roaring through the lives of others, having no idea, just so blind. I'm so deep in the lower power that it blinds me to the truth. And one day, she came walking with us, and I remember she gave me her coat to hold, and it was just a magical moment. So fast forward a few years, so Saturday night after that had happened, and I'd had a chat with her, and I said about a few things. And she's like, oh, Dad, come on. And I put some boundaries in. We're watching a very beautiful spiritual film, actually. The Muppet Show, Christmas Carol. It's a beautiful spiritual film, man. The ghost of the Christmas past, present and future. It's like an experience, strength and hope. And she lay down next to me. And she gave me this embrace like I've never felt before. I felt it on all my soul. And I started crying, man. I started crying. I thought, I don't deserve this. And then I thought, I do deserve this, and she deserves this. And she knew in that moment that she's got a father who she can depend on and trust. He's not going to let her down. And he's got boundaries. Man, imagine if I'd not made that decision in step 3, that decision to go on this mission, to seek this power, I wouldn't have been lying next to that little girl. Maybe she would have been crazy like I was because her dad was missing time and time again. How different at that turning point we are. I was at a turning point when I'm making this decision to seek this power. And I go at it like a madman because I went at using and drinking like a madman. So I made that decision. I ain't going to do half measures in this program. I'm not going to do middle of the road solution. I'm going to be able to be perfectly imperfect and stumble and make those mistakes. You know, at the beginning of this meeting, I love that, Vanessa. I love this because we're authentic, right? Not meant to be perfect. I like mistakes better. I do, because I learn from that. I learn from my mistakes. I learn from my pain. I learn from my fear. I learn from you guys. And I never want to forget the powerful nature of this illness that I suffer from. I never want to forget that. I take it very seriously. Why? Because it's life-threatening. My life depends on it. My kids' life depends on it. And now I've got a responsibility to other people who I care about. And thank God for those sponsees that teach me more than I teach them. And they remind me of where I come from and where I could go back. Because anyone can have a spiritual awakening. It's guaranteed. I'm going to say it. I haven't said it yet. I always say it. 100% success rate in the rooms of Cocaine Anonymous for those who live in a 12-step program. Not 80%, not even 90, 100. But I can have the awakening. And I could go to sleep like that. Because I see it all around me. The illness can seep in. It's almost like a hairline crack. You know, it says, I need to keep in fit spiritual condition to stay in this place of neutrality. And I've seen the illness just creep in very, very subtly. What does it say in the big book? Alcohol, cocaine, whatever your thing is, cunning, baffling, powerful. It doesn't come in the baggie or the bottle or the needle or the pipe. It comes in irritation. It comes in impatience, intolerance. It's like that Bengal tiger that's stalking little Bambi. And you're watching it on the screen and little Bambi's eating, having the best day of its life, no cloud on the horizon. Oh, isn't life amazing as a little deer? And the tiger's creeping up and you're thinking, no, Bambi, no. I don't see it. But thank God there is a solution. And thank God it's so beautiful and so rich and so juicy. The spiritual life is not a theory. I have to live it. I don't know about you, but maybe you relate to some of the stuff that I talk about. Maybe you relate to really wanting to be clean and sober, and then your mind just taking you back against your will. Maybe you relate to being clean and sober, but not happy, joyous and free, and restless, irritable and discontented. And wherever you're at today, man, you are so welcome in this fellowship. We're all on a blank sheet of paper today. Am I going to try and write the story? Or am I going to let God write the story? Am I going to allow this power to flow through me? Or am I getting in the way? I don't know what the answer is for me. This come to me in meditation also recently. You don't know what you're doing. It was that. I don't know what I'm doing. I love that I don't know what I'm doing. Because that means I'm going to keep seeking and keep my ears open and my mind open. One of my best teachers with the same surname as me, Bruce Lee, big shout out. He says the best technique is to have no technique. And he talks about being like water. And I love that, being like getting into this flow. Because as I go through these 12 steps, they start becoming like this flow where I'm not trying to control anymore. You know, that those two words that are easy to say, but very difficult for me to practice. Letting go. Letting go of the outcome. Letting go of what you are. Letting go, letting go. I'm going to spend tomorrow with 31 newcomers. And it's going to be like a beautiful, amazing Christmas. And I'm not a bar humbug, but tomorrow is just as precious as any of the other 365 days for me. Because tomorrow I might have an opportunity to be kind and useful and helpful to someone. Tomorrow I might be able to get closer to spirit and closer to the divine. Get just a little glimpse, a little taste. Maybe it's through you saying something to me on the phone. Maybe it's when I go down to the sea and I look at the sunrise. Maybe it's through my daughter speaking to me. A glimpse. I get glimpses. And then my mind takes control again. Oh my God, I can't do that. You know, I love that bit in the big book where it says, we looked up into the night sky and thought, who then made all of this? There was a feeling of awe and wonder. It says, and then it was fleeting and soon lost. But imagine when that isn't fleeting and isn't soon lost. That sense of awe and wonder. And I believe it's in those moments I've entered the world of the Spirit. I believe it's in this moment I'm in the world of the Spirit, where I'm very present, where, to quote my teacher, Sandra, one of my teachers, got my other teacher on here, I love her. Every breath is a prayer. Every breath is a meditation. When I'm really awake, that's true. Unfortunately, I'm asleep a lot of the time. And talking of teachers, any newcomers, it was always said to me, find your teachers, find your tribe. And what a beautiful thing we have here. Because back in the day, communities were communities, wouldn't they? You know, people would have their elders and we've kind of lost that in modern days, but we have that here. We have elders here who are so happy to connect with us. Whenever I connect with an elder in this program, they're like, oh man, I love speaking to people like you. And I love speaking to people like them. Thank God for the old timers. Shining the torch so bright that even a broken soul like me could not fail to see it and be attracted to it. Because their whole deportment shouted they were someone with an answer. And I know that I don't know and I haven't got an answer. Because my best answer always takes me back to hell. And I don't want to be back in there anymore. I want to taste the divine. I want to experience this sense of ease and comfort that you exude from your soul. And I've had a little taste today. And it's very beautiful. How am I doing? I want to read something. Two things. One of my friends sent me this today. And he said, it's a reading from today. I don't know where it's from actually. But he said, I thought this was very apt for you, Young. December the 24th. I never thought that a day like today would be a high point of my life. Because this time 7 years ago, I thought it was the end of my life. And I didn't know it was just the beginning of my new life. I never thought that a day like today would be a high point of my life. All that excitement that I used to crave and strive for was not there. I don't have to live on the edge anymore. And tonight, as I lay my head on my pillow, I can't think of one single thing that I did today that I have to go back and redo and make amends for. Man, that's big for me. I've caused no harm today. I've been useful today. I felt a sense of meaning and purpose today. Any newcomers in here, you're so welcome. If you feel broken, if this is your first sober Christmas, we got a marathon going on tomorrow. We've got people on the end of the phone. We've got phone numbers here. If you're struggling, give us a bell tomorrow. Be so happy to talk to you. And I've got 24 seconds left, and I'm going to end it on this. From Dr. Bob. Man, Dr. Bob. Because what you've taught me is that the secret to me connecting to this power and to me feeling what I feel is being useful. I spend a great deal of time passing on what I learned to others who want and need it badly. I do it for 4 reasons. A sense of duty. It's a pleasure, because in doing so, I am paying my debt to the man who took time to pass it to me. Because every time I do it, I take a little more insurance for myself against a possible slip. I'm just going to finish on this, man. If you think you're an atheist, an agnostic, a skeptic, or have any other form of intellectual pride which keeps you from accepting what is in this book, I feel sorry for you. If you still think you are strong enough to beat the game alone, that's your affair. But if you really and truly want to quit drinking or using for good and all, and sincerely feel that you must have some help, we know that we have an answer for you. It never fails if you go about it with 1/2 the zeal you have been in the habit of showing when you were getting another drink. And so for anyone new in, we've got this beautiful program, and going quickly back to this big book. These instructions in it transform my soul and remove the drink and drug problem. And it can stay that way as long as I do certain things each day. I hope I've said something that makes sense or helps someone. Thank you for my life. Thank you, Cocaine Anonymous. I'm in love with you. Thank you so much.